I just picked up some brand new tires for my truck. I love the look of the tires, but these rusted rims just ruin the whole thing. So I decided just to paint them all black. You could do this to any car with rusted or just boring rims. The first step is to jack up your car. You could use the jack that came with your car or a floor jack like this one. I chose to jack up the tire so it's only about an inch off the floor. Your car will most likely come with all the tools you need to remove a tire, usually located near your spare, either in the trunk or behind the seats. Next, it's time to remove the lug nuts. When doing this, either put on your parking brake or crack the nuts loose while the tire is still on the ground. Some of my lug nuts ended up being particularly hard to remove. So for added leverage, I put a metal pipe on the tire iron and cracked them loose. It's a good idea to keep lug nuts in a container. Next, remove the tire. Now it's time to prep the rims for painting. As you can see, my rims were incredibly rusted, and it took a lot of work to get them clean. I used an angle grinder with a wire wheel attachment and an air-powered wire wheel, along with some steel wool and some sandpaper for detailing. If you don't have these tools, you could use a Dremel with a sanding bit or just sandpaper. Now start grinding. It is especially important to remove rust and bumps off the rims, so take your time with this for a better final product. Again, you can use some steel wool for the finer details, like around the valve stem. I then flipped the tire over and then did the same thing to the other side. This is not a necessary step because you won't really see this side of the tire. When grinding off rust, remember to always use a dust mask and eye protection. The rims already look so much better just from removing the rust. Now as a final piece of prep work, wipe down the rims and blow them off with some compressed air. I recommend painting outside or in a well-ventilated area. And if you're inside, lay down some paper first. For some reason, painter's tape does not stick to tire rubber. So a good way to protect your tires from paint is to layer note cards in between where the rubber meets the rim. Before you start painting, remember to tape off your valve stem. Next, I laid down a few coats of some flat black Rust-Oleum primer. Remember when spray painting to keep a fluid motion and never hold in one spot. There's a dry time of about 10 to 20 minutes per coat. Optionally, it's a good idea to put another coat of primer on the other side of your rims just to stop it from rusting, even though you don't see it. Next, I use some Rust-Oleum semi-gloss just to give it a little bit of a shine. This is going to be the final few coats of paint. And afterwards, it's important to let it dry for a few hours before putting it back on your car. While that is drying, you could use a jack stand to allow the removal of multiple tires. I also noticed that my wheel hubs were particularly rusted. To keep a clean look, I used a rim as a template to create a stencil. If you do this, remember to tape off the threads to make it easier to tighten the lug nuts later. Using the semi-gloss, I applied it to the wheel hub. Once everything is dry, it's time to put the wheels back on. When putting lug nuts back on, remember to always tighten them by hand first to prevent cross-threading. Then tighten down all the nuts in a crisscross pattern using a torque wrench. Your car's manual should have the specific foot-pounds to set your torque wrench to. Once all of your nuts are tight, lower your wheel down and repeat this process for all of your wheels. This totally transformed my wheels, and I think it's a great way to improve any car's look. I could not have been happier with these results. After about a month, the rims still seem to be holding up well. I hope this video was helpful. Consider subscribing and leave any feedback in the comments. And of course, thanks for watching.